To worship God is nothing other than to serve the people. It does not need rosaries, prayers, carpets, or robes. All peoples are members of the same body, created from one essence. If fate brings suffering to one member, the others cannot stay at rest. Words of Sadi Shirazi. Good morning. Welcome to Cross Street Chapel's Sunday worship. I'm grateful for your presence here, be it wherever you are. I'm grateful that you've taken the time to celebrate with us, to mourn with us, to reflect with us. And whatever it is that you've come seeking at this time, be it that space for joy and celebration, laughter, or be it time for sadness and tears, perhaps a few words of wisdom, or maybe you have only come seeking a chance to rest with the divine. Whatever it is that you have come seeking here, I hope it may be found, as well as a warm community. Even at our separate places, we are still in some sense together here and now. And like many Unitarian chapels across the country and world today, we begin our service with the lighting of our chalice. You may have a chalice of your own. It might be a small tea light, perhaps a small electric light. Even if you have none of those things, I hope you can turn to that inner light within, that inner source of divinity and spark of inspiration, that conscience and guidance that we need and care for throughout our lives. We turn to it now, we pay it homage, and we begin our worship with these words of Albert Schweitzer. At times our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us. And so with that, our chalice is lit. You are invited as well, as we move from the universal to our specific faith tradition, to our own congregational's practice of reciting together our covenant. It will appear in parts next to me. Please do read along. We gather here in sacred fellowship to witness the fullness of our lives and all life, to hold and be held, tell stories and listen, to be renewed and renew the world. We speak with care and patience. We act with gentleness and compassion. We forgive each other and ourselves. In faith that we build beloved community, we renew our covenant today. Today, within the UK, it's Mothering Sunday. I'm going to move the microphone a little bit closer, as I've just had a note to say that it's been a bit on the quiet side. So do let me know if it's too soft or too loud, and we'll make amends accordingly through the service. Today, being the Mothering Sunday in the UK, we turn now to a time of prayer. Mother, carer, companion, and creator of creation, draw us into stillness with you. As you have been a silent witness to our lives, draw us into a silence, so we may recover from the passions and pains of life. As you have tended us in our distress, listening to the timeless pains that affect every generation, as old as humanity, but as new as if wounded yesterday, bring us to peace with ourselves and with those who have hurt us. Reconcile the ideal and the real within us, so that we may once again aspire to great things without fear of falling short. As you have inspired the world, so too we ask that you inspire us and create or find that drive in us, that our ideal is birthed into reality. Carer, companion, creator, may we return to you for support, for understanding, and for inspiration. Amen. And so we turn to our first hymn today, John Andrew Story's Undying Echoes. Thank you. We turn now to two readings and a few words of reflection from myself. The first is Anne Morrow Lindbergh's Gift from the Sea, and then it's followed by a wonderful prayer poem by the Reverend Alicia Ford called Love Abundant. But first, from Gift from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh. I walked far down the beach, soothed by the rhythm of the waves, the sun on my bare back and legs, the wind and mist from the spray on my hair. Into the waves and out like a sandpiper. And then home, drenched, drugged, reeling, full to the brim with my day on land. Full, like the moon before the night has taken a single nibble of it. Full as a cup poured up to the lip. There is a quality to fullness that the psalmist expressed. My cup runneth over. Let no one come, I pray, in sudden panic. I might spill myself away. Is this then what happens to woman? She wants perpetually to spill herself away. all her instinct, the eternal nourisher of children, of men, of society, demands that she give. Her time, her energy, her creativeness drain out into these channels if there is any chance, any leak. Traditionally, we are taught to give what is needed, and immediately. Eternally, woman spills herself away in driblets to the thirsty, seldom being allowed the time, the quiet, the peace to let the pitcher fill up to the brim. From Gift from the Sea by Anne Morrow Lindbergh. And now, Love Abundant by the Reverend Alicia Ford. I lift my eyes up to the hills. From where will my help come? My help comes from love abundant. My help comes from the hills. My help, it comes from ancient mothers whose hearts beat in mine. It comes from the trees that sway and the breeze that sways them. My help comes from all that was and is and will ever be. I lift my eyes, hushed by the soothing touch of waves caressing wounded shores and wounded souls. I lift my eyes, hushed to the horizon bathed by the hum of mothers and mothers' mothers cradling, gently rocking. I lift my voice, call of the sea trees, sister moon, mother earth, my soul weeping, a symphony of life overflowing. I give myself. I too hum through every pore. With every breath, I give myself. An extension of all that is, was, and ever will be. Love Abundant by the Reverend Alicia Ford. Mothering Sunday here in the UK was at one time known as Refreshment Day. And as many people may know, wasn't initially necessarily specifically about mothers. It was more a time for people to visit the Mother Church. It was also, and hence the term Refreshment Day, was a time when the rules around Lent were relaxed. So in the spirit of this easing of our Lenten requirements, for those who have taken them, I think we should find some way to relax, though keeping in mind some measure of communal and individual safety. We're not machines. We don't need to work all the time, and the greatest gift that our great mother has given us are our pleasures, the world, and our capacity to appreciate it. Life, when thought of as work with the occasional vacation, becomes quite difficult. When we are allowed to fill our pitchers with true contentedness, we may find the chores of living evaporate. And in today's circumstances, where some have witnessed a shift from working from home to living at work, the value of replenishment and relaxation are all the more necessary. Just as our mothers and mother figures may have encouraged us and pushed us to excel and to extend our capabilities, so too do I hope they taught us to occasionally slow down and to love life. So, on this easing of our Lenten requirements today, let us spend today praising those virtues of the mother, whether maternal, inspirational, or spiritual, characteristics which we may all encompass to some degree, which, as I hope I'll explain later, we should all encompass. We all have the capacity to nurture and assist and teach. Firstly, is this gift of knowing when to push and when to relax. This is nicely described with Anne Lindbergh's thoughts on replenishing our spirit and our soul. She suggests solitude, that one must remove themselves from the ferocious pulse of the city, from work and obligations, and devote themselves to themselves. She saw this laterally as a responsibility of the church, the need to occasionally go against the grain, to attack the profit margins and efficiency of progress, and just sit. We are social creatures, as many of us are well aware now, but we also need our time alone, which I appreciate we've had in abundance recently. We need time to meditate and to better understand ourselves. For everything there is a season, a time to work and a time to play. Thinking again about Mothering Sunday's history provides us with some keen insights. Knowing the church gave people the day to forget their dietary laws tells us that they understood people sometimes needed a break. And this, of course, isn't the only time that rules are relaxed within the Christian church. The 12th day of Christmas is one of the best examples, often reflected as a carnivalesque atmosphere. But Mothering Sunday is different. It isn't brought on by the continual presence of winter. No, Mother's Day is an ecstatic cry for spring, a call for all creation to rejoice in the rebirth. Winter has been vanquished, and life can begin again. We may feel that we have much in which to rejoice. Winter is at its close. We are at a point when the nights recede and give way to an early dawn, when the bitter winds are replaced by cool breezes. Perhaps we can anticipate the summer sun, and our senses become aware of the new life that has been created out of Earth's hibernation. Mothering Sunday isn't just for the people. The whole world can celebrate new mothers, promising support. And this welcome advance of spring gently reminds us that winter is not forever, that the snow melts and the gray skies and cold evenings are just another part of the endless cycle of life. And so too may we see the end of the pandemic. Though not out of the woods yet, we can look ahead and see a time when most people will have had the vaccine, when social distancing and hygiene have helped us return to a stronger sense of normalcy. Of course, we talk about the risk of returning to a broken normal, and so, like spring, may this be an advent of the heart, creating a more compassionate society. And this leads us to our second virtue for today. Because we speak of Mother Nature, we can reflect with her upon the cycles in our life. And just as the seasons progress around the wheel, so too does the life-affirming water. It comes as rain cascading onto the earth, replenishing the world before approaching the sea, and lifted again into the clouds. Although Anne Lindbergh believed solitude to be the fountainhead of our compassion, the purpose of our empathy does not become isolated. We must share. Our spiritual pools cannot be allowed to stagnate. Our water must cascade through us and through our actions, so everyone will feel the refreshing coolness of divine love. It isn't enough to simply accept the gifts of our mothers. We must learn them and become mothers to the rest of the world. We shouldn't think of chocolates and flowers as the only thanks that we provide. To live our lives with the values they have instilled in us. This is a gift that we can give. The caring, nurturing image, the self-sacrifice, and the smile. Everyone should exhibit this. Everyone must know what it feels like to be loved and in return to love. But we know that this isn't always the case. For some, the burdens of life are not lifted. For some, the well of inspiration runs dry, the fields cracking under the weight of drought. For these people have not had that support. They will be the ones who do not wish to hear today, because they've cried without being comforted, and when they were hungry, they were not fed. And so it becomes our responsibility to love, to nurture. And if we're able to make that sacrifice, we are replenished not only in our solitude, but in the love we receive. Wells are not just filled with groundwater. The gentle rain contributes to their pool. Reflecting on those images last night from Clapham Common, where women were assaulted and arrested, flowers given in memory of one life, Sarah Everard's, flowers given for one life but representative of so many, flowers that were trampled. This call to nurture should ring ever louder. We owe the world's mothers more than this. We owe them justice. The original Fuller selection that I had had from Anne Morrow Lindbergh's spoke of an inherent need and want to sacrifice. It felt inappropriate after yesterday's events, after so much has been sacrificed. Perhaps a sense of guilt over not doing enough should be felt amongst men. Truncating the reading, however, left out the concluding question that Lindbergh asks. How? How do we replenish our emotional and spiritual store after giving so much away? How do we care for all women, giving recognition to their truth, supporting them through their challenges? We might find some answer in the words of the Reverend Alicia Ford. My help comes from love abundant. My help comes from the hills. My help, it comes from ancient mothers whose hearts beat in mine. Love abundant. As we celebrate mothers and mothering, even for the many who cannot physically meet, who cannot give as they want, we can still reflect on those values instilled in us, specifically and generally, and seek to live them into life. Many mothers and mother figures have given us the chance to grow up in a nurturing environment where we can learn about ourselves and appreciate the world. Perhaps it is only fair that today, when the plants are beginning to bloom, the lambs to cry out, today we reciprocate and give homage to our mothers, those physically present and those whose memory lives on in our hearts. Let them, along with the rest of the world, celebrate birth and nourishment, reprieve and relaxation. And may we continue to seek justice for all who are hurt. May we care for that endless cycle of love. Amen. So we now have a period of musical meditation. So we now turn to a time of sharing of candles and of joy and sorrow, where you're able to share your trials and your triumphs. If you want to share these if you want to share these publicly, please type them into the chat box and I will read them out. If you have my mobile number, you can text me as well as send emails. I will try to keep all those channels open during this period. If you prefer to hold your trials and your triumphs in your heart, know that your presence here is enough. And I begin with a candle from Catherine, which is a candle for my aunt, who has lived her entire life with dislocated hips and immense pain. She is waiting for her next surgery, and pray that it brings her some relief. As well as a candle for our very dear friend Kate, whose birthday it is today. Vicky, a candle for Dave as he emerges from rehab this week. And from Laura, a candle of care for friends who this morning have shared harrowing stories on social media. For them and all women that suffer in silence. From Adam, a candle for women who live in fear and with hope that men will educate themselves and each other. From Sonia, a candle for all mothers and all those who are in the position of mothers everywhere. For all those joys and sorrows here spoken, and those that remain silently in our hearts. Let us turn now to a time of prayer with the words of Rebecca A. Edmiston. Spirit within all, mysterious force giving shape to life, miraculous source and river of being, help us to know who we are, to see our place in the history of the earth and in the family of things. Help us to see that we are part of all that ever was, our grandmother's prayers and our grandfather's dreamings, our mother's courage and our father's hope. In our bones lies the calcium of antediluvian creatures. In our veins courses the water of seas. We are part of all that ever was, born of this earth, riders upon a cosmic shore. We are not separate from nature. We are nature, part of that same spirit that turns scales into feathers and bird song into speech. We live by the sun. We move by the stars. We eat from the earth, and we drink from the rain. O great Spirit, help us know who we are, and fill us with such love for this holy creation and gratitude for this awesome gift we call living, that we might claim our inheritance and live out our calling to bless the world and each other with our care. Amen. And so we enter into a period of silence for reflection, meditation, contemplation, and personal prayer. Thank you. So we now have a few notices before we conclude our service. We're grateful for any donations that can assist the mission of the chapel. You are able to donate online at justgiving.com/crossstreetchapelmanchester, which is all spelled out and it's all one word. You can email myself. The details will come up in a second. For details about setting up a standing order. Again, we're grateful for any donations which help the chapel carry out its mission of being a liberal and caring voice for the community of Manchester and beyond. We, of course, have our Zoom tea and coffee afterwards, after the service. The details are posted. The ID is 838-9792-7679. For anyone who is unable to see it, the passcode is CSC. And if you need to pause to view the details, please obviously do so. And then finally, if you wish to get in contact either for some pastoral care or to participate within a service or to join our mailing list, you can write and contact me at minister@crossstreetchapel.org.uk. That time it's CROSSST chapel.org.uk. Next week, the 21st, is going to be our annual general meeting. I will send out the Zoom link to that later today. I didn't want to get it confused with the the link for this afternoon's tea and coffee, which is why it hasn't been sent out yet. If you are a member standing for 1 year, you are able to vote on matters, but we encourage everyone within the congregation to attend to learn about the past year, certainly the challenges the chapel has faced, as well as our ambitions for the next year going forward, especially as we're looking to return to some form of in-person worship from as early as mid-April. So that's next week. It will start at 12:30, and where we will love to have you join us. But before that, we have our final hymn, Ruth Duck's Sacred the Body. Thank you to Anthony for the music. Thank you to Aaron for the music, Catherine for the video editing, and Adam for the photos. And thank you to all of you for creating and sharing worship today. We close with the words of Lawrence Cunningham. From our perspective, it may be necessary to give up warm and fuzzy religious feelings, or have them taken from us by God, to draw close to the one who first comes to us in darkness, but who ultimately is revealed as a living flame of love. Amen. Go in peace.